And the topic is how the FIDO Alliance is addressing the use of passkeys in the enterprise. And my apologies if you were hoping that you were joining this session for me to give you the ultimate guidance on how to deploy passkeys in the enterprise. Sorry to say that that is not exactly what this session is about, but I do want to just explain sort of how we're looking at this and what is coming from us in terms of guidance and documentation from us. And so I'm going to skip over that one. So I noticed when we were, we did the session with Andrew, and then we did the Passkeys 101 with Christian and Tim. There were a lot of questions about attestation. There were questions about how to be able to like have control over devices when you're dealing with passkeys, and that's really an enterprise problem, right? So, you know, we have a lot of agreement that passkeys in the synced version of them are, you know, the right way to move. However, so there's interest on the enterprise side. I mean, it's the right way to move for consumer sign-ins, the no-brainer, which is what Marcio mentioned earlier. In the enterprise, things are a little bit more complicated. We know that enterprise are very interested in passkeys. They're not really sure where they start. So passkeys, sort of a new term. You have synced passkeys, device-bound passkeys. What these are, how they might work in their environment, how passkeys could fit into their current authentication strategy if this had not been on their radar. And of course, you have different sizes of enterprise. An SMB might not have the same requirements as a larger enterprise. You could have, for example, you know, what if you're still relying on passwords? How would you get started? What if you already have deployed what we might refer to as legacy MFA, could like a password plus OTP, and want to migrate to passkeys? You know, how would you make those considerations, and how would you actually do that? What if you have more moderate assurance environments? What if you have high assurance environments? What do you need to be looking at? What if you really want control over those devices? You want additional information from devices or additional signals from the user for proving that they are indeed the one that enrolled that passkey. So these are the things that we're looking at. And when I say we, I want to give all the credit to our enterprise deployment working group. If you're not aware, the FIDO Alliance and the work of the FIDO Alliance is really carried out through our working groups, which is a great group of individuals across all of our working groups. But this work is being done primarily within the EDWG, and they have been very passionate and with moving these pieces of guidance forward, understanding that there's a real need for education in the market. So all the credit goes to them for the work that they are in the midst of completing now. So upcoming guidance is really about how could an enterprise leverage passkeys today. So given the state of the market and state of implementation, you know, what should enterprises be considering, and how would they start their movement to FIDO and passkeys? And so we will be publishing a group of 5 papers that address what we hope to be the majority of the use cases that are out there on the enterprise side. So an overview of passkeys in the enterprise, replacing password-only authentication with passkeys, migrating from legacy MFA to passkeys, the moderate assurance use case, and the high assurance use case. And these papers, so they're going to be in the form of papers, but we are going to plan either an event like this or a series of virtual webinars around this work as well, just to ensure that we're getting the information out there. And timeline is imminent, next couple months for these papers. But the other piece, and this is a little bit of an edit on the slide that Andrew showed earlier, which is listening and being taking in your as enterprise requirements for what's needed for tomorrow, for, you know, to really optimize the use of passkeys in these environments. And again, we know, you know, device-bound passkeys, they have been deployed very successfully in the enterprise setting. Synced passkeys, like I mentioned earlier, you could really want that additional signal, or you might want proof of provenance if you are looking at deploying synced passkeys. This is an area that we're looking at, and that all folks are engaged in really hearing out the requirements from these parties and looking at how we might provide additional capabilities to meet these requirements in the future. So with that, I would say stay tuned. If you would like to be part of the conversation around enterprise requirements, please do get in touch with us. If you'd like to take part in the working group, it's just open to our membership. So become a member, get engaged. This is the time now really to optimize how and give your inputs on how we're looking at passkeys from an enterprise perspective. So there we go, stay tuned. And let's segue into the next session, which also features me. It's a lot of me today, but you will notice that I am actually wearing a different shirt in the session that you're about to watch, and it's not because I'm very good at changing my clothes. It's just because we recorded this session a few days back. So please do enjoy. If you do have questions, I'm here in the chat. Please feel free to ask your questions. But I'm going to be chatting with Yash Padodia from Amazon about how a large consumer relying party / service provider looks at deploying strong authentication at scale. So let's move on to that session, and I will be back after.